Okay. All right, the meeting is now live streaming. Welcome to the snack program. My name is Melissa Marshka, and I am going to turn it over to Alex to introduce our speaker today.
Thanks, Melissa. I'm Alex Chu. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams North Shore, and it's my honor today to introduce Jim Temmer, president of the Better Business Bureau serving Wisconsin. Jim is the president and CEO of the Better Business Bureau serving Wisconsin. Jim was elected chairman of the board of the directors of the International Association of Better Business Bureaus in November 2020. He is committed to promoting integrity and increasing trust in the marketplace. Jim previously served as the executive director of the Milwaukee Bar Association and its foundation. Before that, he spent 10 years leading museums and cultural organizations around Wisconsin. For his efforts at the Wisconsin Historical Society, the American Association of Museums honored him with their 2001 Nancy Hanks Memorial Award for Professional Excellence. Jim graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and Marquette University. He lives in West Bend with his wife, Janet, their dog, 10 chickens, and about 60,000 bees. So welcome, Jim.
All right, thank you, Alex. And it's really my pleasure to be here with you. And I know we don't have too much time, so I'm gonna get right into it. What I've done is put together a presentation on some of our top business scams. A lot of these are related to private scams as well, but they really are affecting businesses all over the country. And first of all, what is the Better Business Bureau? Some of you may be familiar with it, some of you may not be. We're a nonprofit organization. We see ourselves as a neutral party that come between buyers and sellers, and we want to create a trusting marketplace. We want to try and increase the amount of integrity and trust in relationships. And as we all know in our society today, if you can increase trust anywhere, you're doing something great. So I'm really proud of our mission and the work that's done by the BBB, the work that's been done by the BBB for about 100 years. And again, we want to be the leader in advancing marketplace trust. We set standards. We encourage and support best practice by engaging and educating consumers and businesses. And most people are familiar with us on the consumer end. When we do scam information, we go on the news, articles in the newspaper, whatever it is that way. But also for our business members, and we have about 6,500 accredited BBB businesses here in Wisconsin. We try literally and help them become better businesses. We give them information, we give them tools, we introduce them to experts. So it's our job to make those businesses better. We highlight role models in the marketplace by accreditation, by our Torch Awards, our Spark Awards. We call out and address substandard marketplace behavior. If you come to our website, you can get business information on many, many businesses throughout the state, including non-accredited businesses. And we create this community of trustworthy businesses and charities. Not only that consumers can find out who these trustworthy businesses are, but they can help each other out too, and they can network, and we find a lot of B2B activity going on. We offer dispute resolution, business and charity reviews. Our reviews are actually vetted. We don't let people come on and just post a lot of fake reviews. We make sure there was a business transaction that took place. We don't allow these review banks that come from other countries and they come up with thousands and thousands of reviews. We have an algorithm and we look at IP addresses and things like that. So when you see a review on the BBB website, you can trust that it's an actual review. A few other things we do. Our scam tracker is a really interesting tool. It's a heat map to track scams across the country. So you can go in there and you can see what's happening in your neighborhood, or maybe you have a relative that lives in Dallas or Atlanta or wherever it is. You can go there and see what's happening. So is there a scam that's really hot in an area where you may have an elderly relative or you want to talk to somebody about it? It's really a great tool, and it helps us empower each other. So you can go on there and report a scam that was just an attempted scam that wasn't successful, or a scam where you lost money. And we take all that information, we compile it, we share it with the FBI, other law enforcement agencies in the country. So it's a great way for us to share information and try and stay a step ahead of the scammers. But I'm going to talk today again about our 10 riskiest business scams, and their risk is defined by their exposure, how likely it is your business will be targeted, susceptibility, how many people fall for this scam, what are your odds of losing money, and the median dollar loss. And this information is about a year old. Top one is credit card scams. People, again, verbally or through an email, they're saying, hey, we are your bank. We need to verify some information. There's been some activity on your card, on your account that we don't think is accurate. So you give them your account number, you give them any information, and they have that, and they go and they use it and use your credit card. This one, for some reason, banks fall for it more than people. People have a tendency to keep that private information private. But if you're in the office and you get a call from your bank, and even the caller ID says maybe it's BMO Harris or whoever your bank is, you're going to believe that. And of course, we know that scammers can spoof any of those numbers on caller ID. So that's one thing, and I get into that later too. You can't always trust what you see on caller ID. So be very careful with this one. Never give out, of course, online or over the phone your information. If it's the bank calling you, they're going to have your information. Directory listings and advertising. It's easy sometimes for businesses, especially small businesses. Someone comes to you, they've got this little marketing thing, and maybe it's $500 or $1,000 for this directory, and they're telling you where it's going to go, or you're in a town and it's, they're claiming it's coming out to support the high school athletics or whatever it is. And sure, you say, well, pay the $500 for that. A lot of times those things don't even exist. Or if they do, they're never published, or they aren't distributed the way they claim. So you're out the money. And this one is a very common scam in Wisconsin. Fake invoices. Again, this kind of makes sense. People will not only send a fake bill, they might send it to one of your current vendors. And it's easy to fake a template for a letterhead. So maybe you get one from an office supply firm that you use, it's a little more. Or they'll even deliver some things to you and then demand payment. And this one I used to get a lot when I worked at my previous job. I'd be getting these website domain hosting things all the time saying, you have to pay now or your website's going to go away. And I didn't pay those bills to begin with, but it would worry me thinking, my gosh, the number one way we communicate with the public is through our website, and we can't afford to have that thing turn off. So you can see where a business would want to send something like that to make sure that it was valid, right? So you have to look out for these things, and it's just attention to detail. Are you using PO numbers? What is it that you have in your system to prevent this? But it's when people get overwhelmed with business and they're already paying 50 invoices, that 51st one might not get as much critique as the rest of them do. Fake check scams. This is also number one. We're for individuals. For whatever reason, somebody's going to pay you for whatever it is you're selling. Product you're selling, you might be subletting an apartment, you're selling a car, whatever it is, they are more than happy to buy it from you, but they're giving you over the purchase price, and they're going to need money sent back to them or sent to a third party for some reason. So you're selling something for $1,000, they're going to write that check out for $1,500 and say, hey, you know what? I just moved. I don't have a new bank account set up yet. I need $500 to do something. Can you write me a check back for $500? Or can you write that check to a moving company because they're going to be moving you? Whatever it is, there's all sorts of different stories out there. But anytime somebody writes you a check for over an amount for anything and asks you to write one back, don't do it. It's probably a fake check. Almost 100% of the time it's a fake check. So you deposit that in your bank, and the bank's going to come back to you saying you deposited a fake check, and any money that you wrote out, you're out. So this turns into employment scams, business scams on eBay or on Craigslist, all that kind of stuff. You have to be very, very leery about it. Tech support, we're all familiar with this one. But in businesses, remember, you're just as safe as any single employee with a computer. We had a new one this year. Everybody was working from home. So we had a lot of people working on computers from home. And there was a scam that popped up a few months ago where you'd be sitting on your computer and all of a sudden you'd get an email or you get a phone call. And it would say, we've been monitoring your computer. We notice that you have visited some pornographic sites. And if you don't pay us whatever it is, $400, $500, we're going to inform your family and your employer that this is happening and you will be fired. Now, they aren't monitoring anything. They have no idea who went to what website, but they are utilizing a phone to call you and figuring that you might be on a computer. They don't know anything like that, but it's just the robocall that pops into you, you answer it, and they bring up this information. So it's a current scam that's out there right now. And since so many people are at home working on computers, some scammer figured out that was an easy way to make money. The traditional tech support is, they're calling you saying, again, they monitored something. They didn't monitor anything. And many times these tech support scams sound kind of legit until they start asking for payment in green dot cards or gift cards or prepaid debit cards, things like that. Anything that's non-traceable, again, is a red flag for a scam. Phishing, this is when scammers want to get information. They're phishing for information, right? They want to find banking information, personal information, addresses, whatever it is. So this is something, again, you're only as secure as any of your employees with a computer. So make sure your employees are all up to date on not only firewalls and things that can protect them, but their own social work with their computer, who they let in, who they respond to, who they don't. Sometimes, again, here it says an email will come from a trusted source. We'll get into this a little later with the business email compromise scam, but they're always looking for information or a way into your computer system. Ransomware attacks, these happen even at hospitals, and people will say, we won't release any of your data, any of your files in your hospital until you pay us $50,000 or whatever it is. So any of these things that come in, if you give somebody a way into your system, they're in. So you have to make sure across all your employees, not only they have the tech that they need, but they have the training that they need. Charity scams, anytime there's a natural disaster, it's around the holidays, the end of the year, fake charities pop up, and they really like to go after businesses because businesses sometimes can give them more of a charitable contribution than individuals can. So it'll be a name very close to a name you're familiar with, and it'll be a scam. That comes up always too. Government agency imposter. Someone's claiming they're from the Department of whatever it is, and you need to buy their workforce development posters. Well, you don't, but they're selling them for $100 or $200. You need to update some license. So small business people, especially, and they're overwhelmed with all sorts of stuff. You have somebody impersonating a government agency, and again, maybe they're sending you an email and it has the logo for the Department of Administration or whatever it is. It can be fake to look like the real thing. But remember, if there's ever a website and they're claiming it's a government website, federal, state, local, whatever, it will end in .gov. If it ends in .com or .anything else, it is not a government website. So if it's .gov, then it really is. Vanity awards, maybe we've all gotten these too. Someone sends you an email, hey, I liked your article in the paper, or wow, you were called the best local business award winner, whatever it is. They come up with some award that you won that you may want to put in your office, and then they're going to charge you for the plaque or for the statue or whatever it is. So a lot of these things don't carry any cachet. You're just out some money. This last one here, the number 10 I'll talk about, the business email compromise scam, has lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to businesses, government agencies, and even sports teams here in the Milwaukee area in the last couple of years. People find out the email address, the name of usually the CEO or the CFO, whoever it is, and then create an email. For instance, if it's my email sent to our accountant, it would say, just signed a new contract with XYZ company, please send $10,000 to their banking account. Here's their information. So the employee or the accountant gets that and they go ahead and they send that out. You might get one saying, hey, I need a list from HR or to HR from the CEO. I need a list of all of our employees and are they signed up on our medical plan and what their social security numbers are because I'm completing a document for somebody or another. They send you that information. There was a church, I think it was in Ozaukee County, that was building a school, and they had a payment scheduled to be made to their contractor. Fake email came out saying, hey, we changed the name of our bank, we changed our bank, here's the new account and the new information. And I want to say they lost over $250,000 in that big payment because they're building a new building. Government agencies have lost information. The Milwaukee Bucks got caught in this kind of business email compromise scam. So the things to do to prevent this are, if you get an email from someone in your company and it seems not quite right, my name is, I go by Jim in the office. And if I get an email that says to James, I'm going to kind of wonder, that's not the way that my coworker Andy usually talks to me, but if it's for something out of the blue, pick up the phone and call, or walk down the hallway and call. That's the best thing you can do, because a lot of times all these are is emails and there's nothing else behind it. But this is something that goes on all the time in the United States, and it has happened and affected a lot of businesses right here in Milwaukee. Other scams, every winter we get calls from restaurants that someone is calling them, pretending to be We Energy, saying they're 3 months behind in their gas bill. And for some reason, they love to contact restaurants with this one. So you're contacted, and of course you don't want your heat to be cut off, your power to be cut off, so they'll pay whatever it is. And this one comes out, again, every year, every winter. Fake real estate apartment listings. This isn't just for business, this is everywhere as well. And I know I only have a few minutes left, so I'm not going to go through all of these. Scammers' tactics. This, I don't care what scam it is, or if it's business or private. Scammers always want to gain your trust. They make themselves believable. They say they're right from the government, or, a knock on the door, it's a traveling salesman or a guy who says he's going to be able to, he noticed your tree limbs are going to fall on your house and he's here to help you because, wow, you really need to have this done. A storm could come, that tree branch is going to come right through your roof. It's going to destroy your house. And the same way, they create a sense of urgency, right? That tree limb is going to fall, or we're from the IRS and you are going to be arrested, or this is your grandson and I've been in a car accident in Mexico and I need cash. They want you to be thinking emotionally, right? Or, hey, you just won the Irish sweepstakes and you have to pay some fees and we'll give you $5 million. So they're creating emotion, creating happiness or intimidation or fear. They don't want you thinking rationally and logically, because if you do take a step back and think about it, that's when scams don't work. You're like, well, why would I have to pay for something I never asked for? Why am I paying for tech support with a prepaid gift card from Walgreens, right? This stuff just doesn't add up. And along with the prepaid gift cards, remember, scammers use untraceable payment methods. They don't want your credit card. They don't want a check, because all that stuff can be traced to them. They want wire transfers, gift cards, or of course, basically cash. So anytime you're in a transaction with somebody and they're getting away from traditional payment methods, you have to be a little leery about it. And this also is why we tell people, when you're shopping or you're shopping online specifically, use a credit card. Credit cards have many more protections that debit cards and other forms of payment do not. You're actually protected. And also it's something that scammers usually don't want. So it's one way to prevent yourself from being scammed. How to protect your business? Whoop, I went right by that one. But train your employees, right? Your best defense is an informed workforce. Don't send password sensitive information by email, even if it comes from the boss. That might be a test. Hey, I'm putting a list together. Can you send me your passwords? There are programs out there that can test how good employees have been trained. They'll say, click on this link for this or click on this link for that. And they shouldn't be clicking on any of the links, but they do, and you get a report back, and then you can do better training with your employees. We talked about the invoices and payments. Make sure you're checking them all closely. Don't pay until you know that the items were actually delivered. In your personal life, go through all of those credit card statements, your checking statement every month. Sometimes scammers, if they have breached your numbers and they have your credit card, they'll put a charge in for 99 cents or $1.98. And if that goes through, the next month, it might be $198. So if there's any activity on your statement that you don't recognize, call your credit card company and ask them about it. Again, tech savvy, you don't believe your caller ID, that all can be faked. Email addresses, websites, they can change a letter, they can add a word. Instead of Walgreens.com, maybe it's, Walgreens customer service USA.com or whatever they're going to do, but it looks similar to the real thing, but it's different. You know not to open attachments or download files from unexpected emails. Again, a good rule of thumb, if there's anything coming into you did not request, if it's an email, if it's a text, if it's a phone call, if it's a knock on the door, if you didn't initiate it and they want a response from you, you don't owe them anything. You don't owe them that response. Let the call go to voicemail, delete the email. You don't have to answer the door, because if you don't engage with a scammer, odds are you're not going to get scammed. I think that's right on time. We've got a little bit of time for questions, or I'm available at any time for email or a phone call. And that's a quick rundown of business scams.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jim. I open the floor to questions. I'll start with one. So I'm on the do not call list or whatever, and I still get spam phone calls about auto warranty. My particular one is Marriott Vacation Rewards, seems to call me at all hours, and they spoof all local numbers. So it's like, darn it, I picked it up again. So two questions about that. What can we do as individuals, and then what is BBB doing at a national level to stop all this stuff? Waste of time.
Well, the reason why scam callers don't care about the no call list, because they're illegal anyway, and most of it originates overseas, and this is part of the problem with tracking these people down who do it and holding them accountable. When people come into our scam tracker and they say, I got a call from this phone number and it was a scam, I got a call from that phone number, it was a scam. Again, we compile all of that. And if there's multiple people with the same phone number, that's reported to the FTC. And then they can block that number. Unfortunately, the scammers then just get another phone number and use it. But it is a way that we try and block phone numbers from going out there.
So why can't companies like Verizon and AT&T just require people to be legitimate before you sign up? I mean, when I sign up with AT&T, I have to give them my social security number and like 3 forms of ID. So how do scammers get all these spoof numbers?
Well, they aren't calling from the spoofed number. They have technology that they're calling from a completely different number, right? But it looks like it's coming from your exchange. I mean, I've even gotten phone calls from myself, from my own phone number. They figure that people will then answer that, like, what is this? This is odd. It's my own phone number. So they aren't calling from those phone numbers. Those are just the numbers that they think will make somebody pick up the phone. They're calling usually, again, a lot of these operations, especially the IRS scams and some of those other phone scams, originate overseas.
Wow. So Chris Heinrichs asks, what COVID-related scams are afoot now?
Fake vaccine scams are out there right now. People saying they will send a vaccine to your house. You don't have to wait in line. They're, for whatever reason, word that they charge, people are claiming to be from the CDC, and that there's a $25 administration charge or whatever it is. People are getting texts about this. It's all fake out there. You've got to be, there's no fee, there's no cost for these inoculations. You can go to your healthcare provider. There's various government, city, county, state agencies that are operating this, and don't put your health or the health of your family at risk by taking information off of social media. There's all sorts of things out on social media. People always say, what happens if somebody, gets into my account? So what? What if I'm hacked? Big deal. Well, what it is they then can post something and claim it's from you. So if my friends see something from me saying, hey, I just filled out this form and got a $500 government grant and it was, free, I would imagine that people that know me will be much more likely to do that than if it was just from somebody they don't know. And that's what scammers do. They crack into people's social media accounts and then they post as if they're those people. I mean, we all know that there've been the price gouging scams, but the COVID stuff, and we tell people now, when you get the card with your information on it, you shouldn't show it. It's got your birth date on it. And to a scammer, that's like gold. Anything. If it's your birth date, your address, they don't need your social security number to put enough information together about you to try and steal your identity.
Yeah, Jim, I use Spectrum for my telephone, and fairly often, maybe 2 or 3 times a day, I'll get a telephone call that'll be listed as spam risk. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, and actually, if you have some of the cell services do that now too. And what I would do, I just let it not answer, just let it go to voicemail. Probably they're not even going to leave a voicemail. And say you do pick up a robocall and it says, please press 9 if you don't want any more phone calls. Don't press 9. A lot of times they're just looking to verify that a number is active and live. They don't know. They're just literally robocalling number after number after number after number. And if there's someone on the line that takes an action, press 9, says something, they mark it as a live number, and then they sell it to all the other scammers out there. So the best thing you can do is not answer that call. Let it go to voicemail. But whatever you do, again, if they say, or press 2 to talk to Betty at Card Services, whatever it is, don't do any of that stuff. Now, if it is a legitimate call and they leave a phone number and you call them back, or say somebody claims that they are We Energies and you're behind in your payments, don't necessarily call the number back they leave for you. Go back to your last month's bill, because if they're your supplier, you have bills from them and they have a customer service number, or you go to their website and you look up customer service and you call that number. Because a scammer on the phone is going to leave you their phone number and you're going to call them back and they're going to pretend that you owe them money.
Too bad there's nothing like star 68 where you could just report the call you just got and it goes right to the FTC, because just going to their website and reporting something is pretty putsy.
I agree.
So Jim, are you suggesting when I get a call from onto my cell phone and I can click on block a call from this number, it's kind of useless to do that?
Well, then you're just blocking it from that number. If it is a robocall, they'll use another number another time. It wouldn't hurt. I mean, it never hurts. I do that. If I get a text and they're not, it'll say like, hey, Betty, I just bought this, or, something that's obviously not to me, I always block the number. Now I'll get one the next day, but at least I've done that. I've deleted it and blocked the number. Yeah. So if you don't know who it is and it's a spam call, you're very safe blocking that number.
Jim, I think I remember hearing that there's something being considered now in Congress or part of the regulatory process with the FCC that would really cut down on these spam calls. And if so, is there anything that we as citizens can do to support that effort? Contact our congressman, that kind of thing?
Well, of course, you could do that. Now, I've heard the same things you heard. I haven't seen any details, or I don't know exactly how. But right, as we all know, there's got to be a way to cut down this kind of stuff. And it hasn't been done. And I think if you think that's important, and concepts of privacy and keeping your private data private, it's important to contact your elected officials and let them know that these things are important to you. I don't know if there's any. There may be, I just don't know if there's any set bill in front of the legislature right now to address robocalls, but I do know that they've reported it, that it's a topic on the news a little while ago.
Okay.
What do you think about like policemen's associations? And that's another kind of call I get.
That falls under our charity scam kind of area. There are a lot of times those people call and they say they're with the Policemen's Benevolent Association or the firemen, we're doing fire safety for kids, and they'll ask for money. you can ask for their 501c3 designation. You can ask them to send you something in the mail. Anytime a charity or someone who calls from a charity is trying to push you over the phone, again, tell them no. Even if you appreciate that charity, because some legitimate charities hire telemarketers to raise money for them. But when you're utilizing a telemarketer, the telemarketing firm can keep 80 to 90% of that and maybe give 20 or 10% to the charity. So say there's a charity you support and like, and it's, again, usually right before the end of the year, and they're calling you up and saying, hey, we really could use this contribution from you, and you hem and haw a little bit and they're pressing you a little bit. Just say no thanks, and you can go to their website and make the contribution, and then all that money is going to go to that organization instead of going to support a telemarketer.
Do you give charities like your seal of approval or things like that? Or
There's an organization that's affiliated with the Better Business Bureau. It's called the Wise Giving Alliance, and give.org, GIV.org is their website address. And they do accredit charities. There is a BBB charity accreditation. To be blunt with you, I don't think it's the greatest program. If it's a smaller nonprofit, it's tough to get accredited because there's just a lot of boxes to check. And like in the Midwest, we do have a lot of small nonprofit agencies. You can go to GuideStar. There are a lot of good places to get information on charities before you give. But if it's a large charity, that's a good place to start.
And I was also thinking, in what circumstances is it safe to give out your social security number and driver's license? I always have a little twinge when people ask for that.
I do too. And ever since whatever act it was that was passed, now, I work for the Better Business Bureau. I don't own it. But anytime we open an account, I have to give my personal social security number. And I'm saying that I'm always telling people not to do this, right? And so I have to do it. Or driver's license number. You can question it. If you are in an office setting, or you are signing your kid up for daycare, or whatever it is, and they ask you for these things, especially the social, you can say, is there another way? I don't feel comfortable giving that out. Is there another way you can verify my information? Because it is all over the place, and we have to try and maintain it. I went through the Citizens Academy with the FBI, and what they tell you just makes your head spin. It's not a matter of if your personal information is ever stolen or breached, it's how often. That's why I tell people, keep an eye on your bills. Look at your credit card statements closely, your checking account statements closely. You can run a free credit report, once a year. Take advantage of that. See what's out there. If you have children who have social security numbers, it's a good thing to do a credit report on them, because to a scammer, a kid's social security number is like gold, because nobody is going to be looking at that for 18 years, right? Until that kid gets a job or goes to school or gets a loan or whatever it is. So they have all those years where they could be doing things with that social security number. So I tell people not to scare them, but it's not a fact of how you can 100% protect your own information, but it's try and stay on top of it, that if anything would happen, you'd be able to react.
It's always a head scratcher to me when your banks and credit card companies print your entire account number on each page of your statement. So you have to shred each page just to get rid of that number.
And that's something, send an email or call their customer service department. I've noticed a lot of them going now to just the last 4 digits or something like that. Back when I was at school at Madison, the professors would post all of the grades outside of their door, and everybody's ID number was their social security number with a 9 at the end of it. So you could go down there and you could find the name and social security number of every student in there. And hopefully they don't do that anymore. But yeah, it's amazing how much information has been out there. Medical information too. You walk into a doctor's office, we all know HIPAA is very important, but you can overhear so many things, and you just hope that people are using that information wisely.
Something has changed though with birthdays. About 5 years ago, you could find anyone's birthday just looking on the internet, and now it's a lot more difficult.
And that's why we tell people not to publish your birthday like that too.
Well, any other questions for our expert here? If not, I'd like to thank everybody for attending and thank Jim. Thanks, Jim, for your great presentation.
Well, thank you. And like I said, any questions, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. I have to point out Roger on here. Roger's been affiliated with the BBB and our foundation for many years. And we were just on a conference call yesterday.
Great. Well, thanks again. And thanks everyone for attending.
All right. Thank you. Take care now.
Thank
Yep.